Welcome back. My name is Jo, and today we are going to talk about a resource. I mentioned this in a video that I filmed about a month ago that I was signing up for the e-biblioteca of the Cervantes Institute. So I wanted to come back and report on how I am finding this. So the Cervantes Institute has libraries at their physical locations, but there's also this e-library that is completely unrelated to a physical branch, and so anybody can sign up for this. It is at this time 14 euros per year, so you pay that fee and then you have access for a year, and then you can renew it for that same price right now at least. And when I signed up for this, I got a little bit confused, so I'm not sure what exactly I did wrong there, but I would recommend just buying the subscription, and then it will email you your library card information automatically. Once you've bought it, you don't have to make an account separately. So just add the subscription to your cart, check out and everything, and you'll be good to go. Some details about this subscription. Where's my notes? Okay, so as I said, 14 euros per year. It has ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, and newspapers, as well as kind of more traditional library things like database access. You can only have 3 simultaneous loans of any kind. So if you have an ebook, an audiobook, and a magazine out, that's all that you could have, or you could have 3 audiobooks, 3 ebooks, whatever. It can only be 3 at a time, and you can have 2 reserves as well. So ebooks are a 20-day loan. You can read them online, or you can read them using the library app, or you can download an EPUB to transfer to an e-reader, depending on what e-reader you have. It uses Adobe DRM, which is a very popular licensing software, which is what they use to allow you to be able to download it but not keep it indefinitely. So this does work with Kobo e-readers, Nook e-readers, Pocketbook e-readers, etc. It does not work with Kindle. So if you have a Kindle, there's no official way to add these books to your Kindle. I'm not sure whether you could read them using like the web browser on your Kindle. I don't know. Obviously, most people aren't going to want to do that, but as far as transferring the EPUB, there's no way to do that currently. For Kobo, it does work totally fine. Let me pull mine up. I don't know if I'll actually read it, but I thought I might take the opportunity to reread the Fever Dream book by Samantha Schweblin. So I have that on my e-reader. No problems whatsoever. The only thing that's weird, and this is totally nitpicky, but for Kobo, things that are transferred over using Adobe don't get any of the special like Kobo formatting, so it doesn't have an estimated time left in book. So this, again, just completely nitpicking, but since I'm used to being able to see how much time I have left in the book, I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean I can't know that? But super nice to be able to transfer. It's very seamless. If you don't have the Adobe software, I'll put a link in the description for how to transfer the files. Once you know how to do it, which is not difficult, it takes like 10 seconds. So anyway, moving on. Audiobooks are also a 20-day loan, and you listen to them on the app. So the player works totally fine. It works pretty much exactly like any other app. I'll show you. Me serví un buen trozo. So there are even quite a few speeds possible. No complaints whatsoever. I haven't had any issues listening to the audiobooks. Can obviously download it to listen offline like a normal. Newspapers are a 2-hour loan, so very short loan. You can read online or download to read it on the app. It is easy to navigate, but they do still read in like newspaper page format. So it's not like reading on a newspaper's website where it's in an article, but you can make the page display like page width. And then even with the 2-hour loan, as long as there are still copies when you're done, you can just take it right back out again. There's only a limit on the things you can have out simultaneously, so as long as it goes back and then you just take it back out again, you can keep reading. Magazines are a 2-day loan, so you get some more time. Again, you can read online or download to read on the app. Same story with them. It's still in magazine page form. This one I can show you because I do have a magazine out right now. So yeah, really nice. I don't really have too many comments on this. It's good. And then databases. There are many databases for articles that can be accessed using this library card. So there are varying restrictions on those. So some of them, there's only like one license or whatever for the library. So if someone else happened to be browsing, you wouldn't be able to. I think the majority of them seemed like that was not the case, but I remember seeing at least one that was like that. So, it is possible that there would be restrictions, but I don't know if you've ever used databases from a library before, they don't have to be from a library, but any kind of journal article databases, you can download them as PDFs usually. You could access it, download a whole bunch of things, and have those in the future without having to re-access the database, which is really nice. So I just was trying to search random things, and so I found an article about Isabel Allende and the House of the Spirits, which is one of my favorite books, that I looked interesting, so I downloaded that one, and then I can, put it on my Good Notes app and take notes on it or whatever. So I think that's really cool. So overall thoughts, the catalog, we'll start there. I don't know if it is obvious or not, but I hadn't really considered it, that they pretty much only have Spanish literature, not necessarily Spanish from Spain, but written in Spanish or written in a language of Spain. So they do also have Galician literature, Basque literature, those kind of things. And I knew that, I knew they wouldn't have literature in in other languages, but I didn't necessarily think about the fact that they wouldn't have things translated from other languages. So if this is not going to be a normal library, this is not going to have books translated from English or translated from Japanese or whatever. This is for Spanish literature, which again makes sense, but it isn't something I'd necessarily thought about before browsing the catalog. They do also have some Dele Prep and other language learning materials for sure. They have graded readers, and they have a lot of nonfiction of many varieties. Their catalog is really good. It wasn't like every single thing I searched for was on there, by any stretch, but I was surprised by how many things were on there, even including pretty new titles for YA or for adults for sure, definitely. You can browse the catalog without getting the subscription, so I definitely recommend doing that to see if the stuff that you like to read is on here. So things that I was surprised were not on there, the Los Dioses del Norte series by Jara Santa Maria, none of those are on there, or her other series, but a bunch of the Pedro Mañas books were on there, the Amanda Black series, the first 2 books, definitely some children's literature, some YA is on there, and then same with Spanish literature, they have Isabel Allende's pretty much entire catalog, not literally probably, but a lot. They have quite a bit of Mariana Enriquez, Samantha Schweblin, things that I like to read. They had a lot of so much of that, Arturo Perez something, the guy that writes crime noir kind of looking things. I'm listening to that Miquel Santiago book right now. It does seem like they have a preference for Spain, but it's not like there wasn't a lot of Latin American on here too. So yeah, again, just you'll have to search up what you'd be interested in, but there is definitely no lack of things to listen to or watch, listen to or read. And I mean, you can see that in the numbers as well, like thousands of things. Also, usually when you browse the catalog, it is auto-filtered, at least on my computer, for things that are available right now. So you can also take that off to get a little bit more accurate of a picture, because it's not like you're necessarily needing it right then when you're just browsing the catalog. And that brings us to kind of our usability concerns. So can you actually get the books that you want to get? That sort of thing. I'm not sure how many users they have, what the kind of ebb and flow of people using the library is, but it seems like the limits that they have on borrows and reserves that you can have seems to keep the wait time on everything really low, even on newer or more popular titles. Most titles are available immediately, and even the ones that aren't usually are available really soon, like a week out. Hello, editing here, and I just realized that I forgot to include that the only thing that did look like it had long wait times were the Dele Prep books. Some of those did have like a year-long wait time. Anyway, back to the video. So yeah, I really have nothing bad to say, to be honest. So yeah, I feel like for anyone who doesn't have a public library available to them or has kind of gaps in the catalog of their public library as far as Spanish materials, which would be the case for me, even though my library is amazing and there are things that it does better here, like the magazine navigation on the Libby app, which is what my library uses, is much better than this, and there's more seamless integration of everything because it's, a huge system. Even though those aspects are better, the catalog of this library is without question better as far as natively written Spanish things. So I am so excited to have this. I will not be canceling my Storytel subscription for now because, well, for one thing, I've prepaid for a year starting in like February, so I still have like 11 months, but it'll be interesting for me to see whether I feel like I still want to keep that in the next year, because I love Storytel. Like, I use it all the time. I read like over 20 books on Storytel last year, and that is a paid, obviously, audiobook and somewhat ebook as well subscription that I pay about $5 a month for. And so I absolutely love that, and I have talked about that so much, and I still continue to. And with that one, I obviously am able to listen to things that weren't originally written in Spanish. But this is the first thing I've seen where I genuinely was like, there's a possibility that I could not need Storytel in the future. So that's big that was like even a thought that I had, because that's never really been, if I had really needed to cancel it, obviously I always could have canceled it and been totally fine, but it's never even really been a consideration to me before because I get so much use out of it. And so yeah, I'm really excited to continue using it. That's pretty much what I've got to say. So if you have questions, definitely leave them below. And if you try it out, definitely let us know how you find it. And I will see you in the next video.